Well met, everyone. I am Rich the Lich, and today I am doing a review on the Blood War Bestiary. This is an 84-page PDF with a bunch of monsters. As it says here on the front cover, we have a collection of fiendish monsters, villains, and layers to make your game world a living hell. Possibly inspired by the recent events of things that are going on in Avernus, the new, recently released book that I did a review on, Baldur's Gate: Descent into Avernus. Everything in the D&D space right now is very heavily focused on going to hell, as though that is an optimal choice in your PC's journey and adventure. But regardless, we have 84 pages here of a bunch of new creatures, monsters, and whatnot. This is created by a bunch of different designers. There's a bunch of interior illustrators and writers that have contributed to this. But the project manager is Darren Scott. Darren Scott and I have corresponded and talked quite a bit through emails, and he sent me this copy for free. What you will get when you purchase this for $12.95 is exactly what I am covering in this review here. So I am not showing you anything that you would not get as well. But this was free for me. He sent it to me, but Darren and I have this relationship where, and an understanding I should say, where it does no justice and service to my audience if I was to skew my perspective in my review and the good and the bad of this simply because I didn't have to pay for it, because that does nothing for you, right? So we are looking at a supplement, I'm reading right down here, that provides a collection of lore-friendly monsters, both weak and mighty, villains and layers that might make good adversaries for adventuring parties venturing into the heart of the Blood War. The supplement was designed with published adventures such as I mentioned, Baldur's Gate: Descent into Avernus, and the previously released Out of the Abyss in mind, providing you the opportunity to introduce new, exciting threats or allow your players to forge alliances of necessity. You know the drill. I'm going to run this through my review system of layout, design, and editing. I'll talk about the art, and most importantly, I will talk about the content. At the end of it all, with my thoughts, my comments, my suggestions, how I feel about it, and my final score and my review system, hopefully you'll see whether or not this might be some content that's a good fit for you and your gaming group. Let's jump into it. Up first is layout, design, and editing. So, for 2 possible points, what we are looking at is a really good-looking front cover. I'll talk about the art of that in a moment, but things stand out. I know exactly what I have in front of me. I have the Blood War Bestiary. What is the Blood War? Let's mention that very quickly. It is the everlasting fight that has permeated all of the D&D editions and spaces. I don't know where it first came about. I don't know if it's something that comes even before D&D. It is the fight between demons and devils, right? So we know exactly what we have here. It has this little part at the bottom that tells us also definitively what we're getting. As we get through, we've got the credits page, the introduction. The index of monsters is very well done. It's very well laid out. This is sort of your table of contents, and everything is alphabetical. It's also a very nice touch that it's giving us the CRs. So if my PCs just journey into hell, or say you want to just use these in any sort of demonic, devilish campaign, regardless of going to hell, but you want to say there's some, dark portal World of Warcraft influence in your world, you can simply pull some lower CR monsters as well. And it's just nice that you can navigate your way quickly through that. I want to look at for some CR4 stuff. Let's look at the Forge Devil, which is on page 32. Navigation is on point. When I type that in the PDF, there he is, okay? We've got this familiar look, right? There's a cool parchment. There's some little flourishes and decor and design on the edges. The page numbers are not obtrusive, but they're there. I know what page I'm on. So it's laid out very well. There isn't anything that's conflicting and taking away from. The layout of the columns and the font is very readable. There's a little bit, I think, with the stat blocks. It's more nitpicking, but I talk about this all the time. That's the reason for having this layout, design, and editing category, is for me to nitpick and get all those little details and talk about some things that maybe could be changed. There are very few spelling errors. There are a couple of issues where we've got some, where is it at? You have this guy here, the Laggath T. See what I mean? There's the spacing right here. So form of, and then there's just a bunch of indents and spaces, madness. So I don't see this very often. Matter of fact, I think this might be the only instance where it's there, but there's a couple of spelling errors. There's a couple of instances early on when I was reading through where the same word, you're going to read through the same word twice. So Really, really small, minor editing things. Not a big deal. Everything else, though, is laid out really well. I like that they gave this thing space. I talk about that all the time. But for layout, design, and editing, I'm going to give this thing 1 out of 2 possible points. It's very readable. It's good. It's really good, but I'm not going to say it's perfect. Up next is art. Of course, with art, we have to start with the front cover. Absolutely gorgeous, beautiful. The colors are incredible. The texture, that metallic kind of War Machine, spidery looking feel, whatever he's got, it just resonates with me. It fits well. The color scheme of the kind of that fire, the orange, it looks really, really good. The title stands out. Beautiful, beautiful artwork. Here's the other really, really good thing about this stuff. While the artwork is not the greatest I've ever seen, there's higher level concept art out there. It is beautiful and just a breath of fresh air to know that we've got all these monsters, and basically every one of them give us a piece of artwork. So it's just really cool. If we just do a quick scroll through, here's the Leech, here's the Exsanguinator, there's the Collector Angel, but then when you get into the Madness Angel and the Tyranny Angel, layout-wise, it has the information about them and the stat block, but you've got these little labels right here that let us know which one are we looking at. So really cool in that regard, so there's no confusion of which one is which. Here you've got the Wrath Angel on his own. Here you've got the Swarm of Stygian Leeches. Cool artwork. I like that kind of pencil-drawn, more concept-arty feel. It doesn't have to be world-class. I just love that it's there and it's laid out well. This is not the greatest piece of artwork I've ever seen, but it's here. I have a picture and I get the gist and the vibe after reading through what he's about and looking at the visual, how I can describe this to my players and my PCs. And that goes... Picture's worth 1,000 words when it comes to a monster book. I've talked about this in other reviews and other various videos where, from my son's perspective, picking up those early 3rd edition monster manuals and whatnot, he was just fascinated with browsing through the book and getting inspired and wanting to play based on pictures alone. He had no clue what the stats meant. In a monster book, whoever's out there, whoever's making your own stuff, do exactly as these guys have done. No matter what level of detail and quality of art, put a piece of art for every monster. As we scroll through, there's an Infernal Siege Engine, there's a piece of artwork. Demons, artwork, artwork. Look at this, every page. This is gorgeous. That is world-class concept art level. But even though you have a little bit of disparity and discrepancy between the quality of one and the next, again, I'll keep sort of belaboring that point. It's really cool to see artwork for everything, accompanying everything where it needs to be. Very, very cool. So for this, I'm going to judge it based on the fact that, number one, we're paying $12.95 for it. We're not looking at the manpower and resources that Wizards of the Coast has for their official published stuff. It is unrealistic to expect Marvel, DC, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars level concept artists drawing the stuff here. It would be completely prohibitive in cost. So based on the limitations and having to wrangle in a few different illustrators, the fact that you have all the artwork here, I have to give this a perfect 3 out of 3 for artwork. Up next, content. Well, for $12.95, what are we getting? We are getting 84 pages. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to skip ahead. By my initial count, about 55 new monsters here. Give or take a few if I miss something, right? And I've scrolled through 95% of this document. There may be a couple of pages where I was a little bit lost in there on whether there's a few sort of subtypes, within a certain category. But for the most part, you're looking at 55 monsters, and they run the gamut from CR 2 to 20 for the dragons, depending on whether you're talking about young or ancient high level. And that's what I was talking about. Here, we have more than just one Stygian dragon listed, right? If I was to skip over there really quick to page 45, you'll see that there he is, but we've got the Wormling, which is now a CR2. You've got the Young, which is a CR6, Adult, CR13. So you see what I mean. You potentially have more than just the 55 monsters because you have a few different variations on them. But as I said, we have CRs that go all the way. There's a CR24. And then you've got some that are down here at the CR 1/2. So you've got 55 monsters or so, and they run the spectrum from CR 1/2, so things you can easily fight at low level, all the way up to CR 24 campaign world-ending type of monsters. Yes, there's a lot of demons, there's a lot of devils, there's a lot of weird Nashi bits, but there's also angels and things that seem almost a little bit more normal. So yes, the most of the content and the monsters you want is if you're playing within sort of those weird worlds, kind of that H.R. Geiger horror-esque everything is a little different than you expected, or you're in inhospitable environments, places you don't want to be. This may not just be something you're going to find in a druid grove and something that you're just going to find in the random tavern or near a random town. These are aberrations and creatures and monstrosities that are hard to quantify. You know, you don't just have your normal humanoid types and your normal beast types and animals here. So yes, the content is somewhat not restricted, but it's a little bit confined to that vibe and that feel. Of course, the content immediately fits because you're getting more if you're running in Avernus itself or in any sort of hellish landscape or any sort of planescapey planar travel. There's a lot here that's going to fit for sure. There's all new things. The stat blocks, I mean, if we just look at some of these things, you know, look at just when you look at the breadth of how much is covered within these stat blocks, there's a lot to read through. There's a lot of abilities. There's a lot of things going on. And they seem well balanced. They're really cool. And one indicator of just their balance is the range of having from everything CR 1/2 all the way up to CR 24. When you have monsters that are listed in that sort of scope and that range, it reminds or it sort of indicates to me that I'm okay with creating something that's only a half CR. I'm okay with creating something that's a 1 or a 2 CR. I don't need to just dump various attributes and stats and traits on every monster and say everything in here is 14, CR 14 and up. So it runs the full spectrum. You're getting artwork with all of it. You're getting a lot of good bits for what you're trying to run, like I said, within these sort of worlds. You're getting some dragons, as you saw there, a lot of cool demons and just weird, chaotic, evil-looking, gnashy abominations, plague demons, and things that have all sorts of effects. There's a lot of times where you'll have certain rolls that you make to make saves against their abilities, and if you fail, you got to look in the DMG for madness charts, and so it creates that sort of horror and that element that should come with demons and devils and just things that you don't quite understand, and you just know it does a bunch of horrible things to you, but you can't explain it and what's happening. So not everything is just easily quantified by it's a meat shield that does a lot of damage and it does more damage. There's a lot of weird little bits in here, and these are good things, as I've said in other videos, simply because they create some surprise. They create an element that your PCs don't really know what they can do, and as such, your PCs now have to wrangle and handle the tactics of something that they don't know what the capabilities are. So that's definitely a bonus. But I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5 for content because the content is really good. I believe you're getting a ton for your money's worth. As I said, 55 plus monsters. Towards the very back of the book, you're going to start getting into these actual full layouts of a fort that has, I mean, you've got how many, 17, 18 pieces? You've got little mini module content type here, you know, things here where you'll read about different things that are happening in these different rooms. You're getting these maps. You're getting a few of these things like that. Okay, you've got these high-level monsters. And I mean, look at all the content that I'm reading here on the Dark Delight. Here's a cool map, and then look at this. I mean, we've got, if I start the Dark Delight, the first level, number 1, a page. There she is. There's a whole page here of information and different things to read. So you're getting a lot of content. But the content can be a little bit restrictive to, I feel like it's going to resonate with you and just hit better and feel better at your table if you're playing within these dark, hellish landscapes. If you're playing in outside of that, you might be inspired by some of the things here, but you may not find an immediate pull and place into your world. That is why I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 instead of the perfect score, because the content may not be for everyone, but if you're looking for more inspiration and more things within the world and the spaces of Avernus and Hell, I think you should definitely take a look at this. I'll put a link in the description of where to get it. As I said, this is the Blood War Bestiary, and the project manager is Darren Scott. Thank you, Darren, for sending me the copy. I hope this review helped all of you and helped to inform you on whether or not this might be a good fit. Oh yeah, I almost forgot the important point. Here's my final score. That's all I have for you folks. Thanks everyone for watching, and take care.